Hello, Minnesota whiskey fanatics. This is day 4. I want to thank, let's see here, Josh Allard for the Michters Sour. I'm going to go on a limb and say that this is the American whiskey. Somebody could tell me which one exactly it is. Let me grab a better glass. You know, there's a lot of people that say, Glencairns are right, or even these little, they're actually wine glasses are the best, but I have to say that these little Starbucks espressos are absolutely fantastic for pouring whiskey. I'm going to go ahead and guess that this is the American whiskey. Could be completely wrong, but that's what I'm running with. Let's give it a taste. I've honestly never had Michters before, so this is all a first for me. That's good. That's really good. So when I was coming up with ideas for what I was going to compare it to tonight, a lot of stuff came to mind. Obviously I could have gotten another Michters to compare it to, could have gotten something in the family. I also think I've got a decanter or two from Michters somewhere in my basement, but I wanted to do something a little special, well, I guess a little different, and I wanted to compare it to Rittenhouse Rye. You might be saying, why Rittenhouse? Well, Michters American whiskey, the reason why they call it American whiskey is because it's 50 rye and 50 corn, or somewhere around there, 50-50. That's the reason why it's not enough to call it rye, not enough to call it bourbon, which would require the 51 corn. Rittenhouse is a barely legal rye, so that means it's 51% rye, and then 49% corn with a little bit of barley, something like that. But the point is, these are really 1% apart from each other, so I wanted to compare them. I have great things to say about this. Between a heavy rye bourbon or a barely legal rye, that's fantastic. The other cool thing about Michters that is worth noting is the barrel entry proof is super low. And there's something to be said about that in today's age. I'm not going to lie, 125 proof for a lot of people, which is the regular barrel entry for a lot of these big distilleries now, it can be hot at times. It definitely can be hot. And back in the days, you're talking 1970s, 1960s, some of those great whiskeys, the ones that are truly a legacy, my cat's saying hi to you all, but a lot of those great whiskeys entered the barrel at most 110 proof. So when you compare it to today, far more mellow, and also, 86 proof back then meant a lot different than it meant now. Something that I think is worth noting, just going back historically, is that you have to think about not only what proof is it, like you see on the shelf, it might be 80 proof, might be 100 proof. And of course you're thinking in your head, the higher the proof, the less it's cut. But what you really need to think about is, what proof did it enter the barrel at? What proof did it exit the barrel at? And then what's the difference between the proof of which it exited the barrel and the proof now? So getting back to Michters, I believe most Michters is 86 proof, and people might think that they're kind of selling out. They might think that they're really watering down their whiskey. Well, the fact is even getting back to Henry McKenna, there are barrels of Henry McKenna at 140 proof. When they exit the barrel. There are barrels at 145 proof, I think, or 144. That's the most I've seen. out of Heaven Hill. But the point is, those are actually probably watered down more than some of these Michters barrels. So you might be saying to yourself, well, it's 14 proof higher, but the fact is, you really need to look at what did it exit the barrel at and what was it watered down to. The same goes for example, Smooth Ambler. Smooth Ambler Old Scout has been, I've seen 94 proof, and that's barrel proof. So just think about that next time you're really digging into a whiskey and thinking to yourself, you know, how much has it been watered down? Because I think that's important to understand the flavor of your whiskey. Also going along with that, just because it's low proof, just because it's 86 proof, doesn't mean that it's bad, and it doesn't mean that it's necessarily been cut as much as even some whiskeys that are at 100 proof. That's a big deal. So definitely think about that. Now here we go with the Rittenhouse Bottle and Bond, 4 years old, 51 rye. Similar, within 1% of this guy. A lot of similarities. A lot of similarities. Obviously the proof is higher. There's more alcohol bite here, but they share more than they differ. They definitely do. I'm going to continue to enjoy this. I really do like Michters, and I need to eventually get a hold of a bottle. I was hoping to get the American or the barreled proof or the toasted, but I'll leave it at that. Have a nice night and enjoy yourselves.